What's up out there, junkies? Welcome to another great episode of Culture Junkies Live. I'm your host, Kenshiro, and today we're going to be talking about the Oscars Afterglow on top of a few other pop culture things that came out. What's up to Brian Cannon? Welcome to the show, my friend. We're also going to be talking about Rotten Tomatoes and how they've kind of maybe silenced the trolls forever, or did they? But also we're going to give you some, this week or this week in gaming history on top of some other fun things. But let me introduce who's going to be on the show with me today. First and foremost, Miss Miao Yin, how are you doing, lady?
Hello! I'm doing well. I'm here and happy.
That's always good. Mr. GQ is checking in from the palace that is GQ's lair. How you doing, bro?
I'm doing well. Never use the word afterglow again, though. That was a little bit cheesy.
Whatever. You got your way of speaking. I got mine. The great Dr. Kuji is checking in as well. What's up, bro?
Trying to be super awesome, playing. And even though I get around to playing the video games today, I want to play some. Maybe, I don't know. I'm gonna go to bed. Oh.
Yeah, he looks like he's getting ready to fall asleep, like right now, don't he? He just looks like he's just about to fall asleep right there on the screen. Yeah, he really does.
Trying to stay awake, but old people, they zap all the freaking energy from you. That's how they stay old for a long time. They just suck the energy out of old people. I mean, young people.
Kind of like a succubus or something like that.
Succubus, vampire,
yeah,
fucking,
something like that.
Yeah,
something like that. Todd's over on Periscope. What's up to you, Matthew P. Sertland? What's up to you? Welcome to the show, everybody, and also the culture junkie favorite, Mr. Tony Young. How you doing, my friend? And yes, Man of Steel is still a good movie in my book. But moving right along, so guys, so one thing of news I wanted to kind of get your reaction to, and it's something that kind of just broke a few minutes before we started the show, is that we know Disney's getting ready to launch their streaming service, and everybody's been talking about what's going to happen with the Marvel Netflix shows now that Punisher's been canceled and Jessica Jones has been canceled, and so has all the other Netflix shows. But now Hulu might be their destination, and Disney is going to shore up that loophole by trying to buy Warner's stake in Hulu, which would give them much more than 60%, might even give them close to 100%. So what's your thoughts to hearing that little bit of news?
Well, for me, I think it's cool. Personally, if they have their own streaming service with Disney stuff, I want to see the MCU stuff on there. If they're going to have it more family friendly stuff, I like for them to do the new stuff. Like I've mentioned before, I hope they freaking throw on episodes of Darkwing Duck and Tailspin and all that shit, even though I got some of them on DVD. But even if it's there, it gives these people that have young kids something to watch that's not fucking was that PJ Masks and all these other probably lame ass shows that these kids like. I mean, they like them, but they're lame. They need to go to watch these the good shit that we had back in the day, even though I don't know if that's gonna happen.
You sound like such an old man right now.
I probably sound like an old ass man, but like talking to a coworker, man, that floss dance that's so friggin' popular because of goddamn Fortnite, that is an awful dance. It's terrible.
Oh, God, he sounds like such
I think it'd be sure. Man. It is, but I think it'd be kind of cool because if Hulu becomes the adult part of it, as long as they don't change things that I like, I don't necessarily think that Warner Brothers has to get pushed out because they do have shows on there, but Warner Brothers wants to start their own streaming service that's not DC. Because right now Hulu has a lot of stuff, and they got to deal with Funimation. They got anime on there. They got old shows on there like Perfect Strangers and Golden Girls on there. I think that shit is cool. So if they
we'll lose that if they go away.
And that's the shit I don't want that to go away. I like that stuff is there. I want Disney to put the more adult stuff on there because I like Daredevil. I like all those shows to a degree. I mean, when I say that, I'm talking mainly about the first season of Iron Fist, which is like, oh guys, you guys could have did better. But regardless of that, maybe they will do better. I just like to have a platform for them, and I don't want it to be toned down because the Punisher. How the hell are you gonna tone that down? I mean, granted, there was a PG-13 with Dolph Lundgren, if I remember correctly.
Oh man,
I've still been meaning to watch that.
Wait a minute, no. That was rated R. That was rated R.
It was rated R?
Yeah, it was rated R.
I know the one with John Travolta, even though he wasn't the main character.
That one was
PG-13. Yeah,
which was a travesty. I don't know how in the world they thought they were going to get away with that.
Yeah, who knows?
So
I don't know
anyway,
what
GQ,
goes on sometimes.
you own stock in Disney. What's your take on this?
Disney's doing the most important thing in life. You never leave money on the table, ever. Mm-hmm. They are taking their stake, they're increasing their stake, and they're taking control over it. So they're basically going to have 2 streaming services at the same time.
Right.
Like, that's just, again, it's like just the amount of just domination that they're taking in the entertainment industry is admirable, actually. It's like they've taken over 2 of the biggest franchises in the sense of pop culture in the last, basically in our lifetimes, period. Mm-hmm. So like, you've got that, they've got their own, their own classics, they've got their own, film division with other stuff that they do.
Right.
So for them to take on streaming it from all fronts, essentially, like that's you can't really argue that. I don't care what people say about, them being big and bad and taking over. So what? That's what you do when you're on King of the Hill.
And that's true, because, and here's a little information for all of you out there that may be keeping score. Hulu right now, as of last month, has over 25 million subscribers. I think that provides quite a little bit of impetus for someone to try and get controlling interest in a streaming service. You can't beat an install base. The bigger install base you have, the better you're doing in the future. And again, like we said, and like GQ's talking about, you don't leave money on the table. If you were going to put the Marvel Netflix shows, and really we should probably stop calling them the Marvel Netflix shows at some point. But if you're going to put those shows up on Hulu, at best, all they would get is 60% of the subscriber base from, any new subscribers that come along, or 60% of the advertising revenue that would be generated by those shows being on Hulu. Now, if they acquire Warner's take, they get close to, if not 100% of all of that. So, and let's I remind you all, Disney Plus is not intended to be advertiser driven. It is supposed to be, is not advertiser driven. It is purely subscription driven, whereas Hulu or Hulu is both advertiser and subscription based. So there's just a little nugget for thought there. And again,
I like it.
Yeah, it's a good move. It's a good move. It's a good move. So anyway, guys, so let's get to the first topic of the day that we're going to talk about. So Rotten Tomatoes decided to put the kibosh on user reviews on their website just yesterday. Some say it's because of what was happening with Captain Marvel, but really, if you think about it, it's kind of been a long time coming. Marvel wasn't really the first casualty, or Captain Marvel wasn't the first casualty of this. Some would say Last Jedi was getting some of this treatment. Some could say Justice League was getting this treatment. Some would say, Batman v Superman was even getting this treatment. So in a way, it's kind of long overdue. So I wanted to pose this question to you all and get your take on it. Are user reviews just too toxic to even be relevant in the era of social media? So Miao Yin, you're on the screen. You take it first.
Well, I don't think that it's too toxic, but I do think that, one, they should have done it a long time ago if they want to be taken seriously, in my opinion, as as critics and stuff like that, because you can't have people commenting and making reviews on stuff that isn't available to the general public. It just doesn't make sense. It's the same thing on Amazon when they used to do that. And I guess they still do it on Amazon to a certain extent, but you can't call yourself this. And as you realize over the years, Rotten Tomatoes has gained more notoriety. People use them on TV shows when they're talking, I think I read on Forbes magazine or something where they reference Rotten Tomatoes. So that makes them have to clean up their stuff. They're not just like this little fun organization anymore that they can get away with this stuff. It carries a little bit of weight. So they're probably hearing some pushback from some folks, and now they really decided to fix the problem. So in my opinion, I think that the user reviews isn't toxic or anything like that, because people are going to get on the internet and say whatever they want to say. But they at least are taking responsibility for their site and the weight that they potentially have to influence films.
Well, I agree with some of the stuff what you're saying, but at the same time, a lot of these people were user reviewing before the movies were coming out, and I think that's where the toxicity crap is coming into, because we heard it from a lot of things when it comes to anything that are starring women for whatever reason. The Ghostbusters, was it 2016? I think that's when that one came out. The Ghostbusters came out, and then of course now you're hearing about it with Captain Marvel. There was other stuff. I'm not going to go through everything, but the most recent is most definitely Captain Marvel. This movie's not out yet, and from my understanding, nobody has. I won't say nobody. I'm pretty sure there's been people out there that have seen it, but there are people out there that are putting user reviews up there that have not seen it, just to discredit it, just to give it a poor rating, just to show that this movie sucks, even though they've never seen it. And that part, I don't understand. I don't like it. I wish these trolls, back when the internet was freaking like, young, and the trolls were something that was doing something funny, but now these people out here are so malicious and out here to try to ruin people's lives and well-beings and the ways they make money. I think Star Wars was affected by this crap, and it had to do with these people who think that Star Wars is now being feminine run, because you got Rey and Hondo, I think her name was, and it wasn't Hondo, I forget what it was, whatever her fuck her name was, but Holdo, and then Solo, I really think was hurt by that, because you had these fucking assholes out here that can't watch something. First off, they got all this prejudgment on a lot of stuff because, I don't know, I guess that's just how they are. I have no idea how one person can. I just don't get it. But there's a lot of dumbasses out here, and I think this may or may not. I mean, it's not going to stop trolls. Trolls are going to be out there regardless. There's people out there. They don't even know that they're trolling. I think maybe they're not trolling. Maybe they're just generally. I can't speak either. You'll
get it at some point, I swear.
Genuinely how they are. And it might be able to put, what do you call those things, a stopgap into some of it. And maybe it might change how people go to the movies, because if you just have reviews on when the movie is out, or people who are reviewers, or known reviewers, or registered with Rotten Tomatoes or something, how they do it, it might change some of that stuff, because there's people out there that truly believe this stuff is going on because they read a review before they watch a movie, and then they won't go watch the movie. And I'm not that person. I review stuff for myself, then I watch a review to see what they liked or didn't like about the movie, so I can understand where they came from, because I already watched the movie. That's just how I do. So
no, and I get that. People's disposable income is precious to them, especially when they don't have a lot of it. So if they're going to spend their money on something, they want to basically make sure that they're going to enjoy those films. So they will lean on word of mouth, or they'll lean on a reviewer that they know and they trust, and here, if they actually like it, then they'll go and see it for themselves. But in the case with where Rotten Tomatoes has become so prevalent nowadays, to where it's being put in the papers, it's being shown on commercials, the Rotten Tomatoes score, and it carries all this weight, like Malian said. When people go to the site and then they look at users want to see, and then they see something like Captain Marvel is getting like 25% people want to see, then that kind of can negatively affect some of those people that are on the fence. GQ, what's your 2 cents on this?
Well, before we start that, Punisher with Thomas Jane and John Travolta was an R-rated movie. So all the Punisher movies have been rated R. That's not really important, though. But really, when it comes down to the Rotten Tomatoes thing, I don't care what anybody thinks when it comes to movies. I don't really expect anybody to have the same thought patterns I have, the same likes I have, the same whatever. So I go see the movie for myself, like Dido said. The disposable income thing is a cop out because hell, if you smoke or if you buy food or if whatever, you've already spent enough to go see a movie at a matinee price or catch it cheap or whatever. So again, all the excuses as to, oh, I don't want to go see this or I can't afford. It's like, shut up. It's like, tell me you can't afford something that costs actual money. You know, a movie is cheap. I don't give a damn where if you see it opening night. I don't give a damn if you see it at matinee. Movies are cheap. So the excuses people make, oh, I need to see somebody's review before. It's like, if you can't think for yourself, then stay out of the movie theater. If you can't think for yourself, don't play video games. You know, it's the fact that people need to have something to validate their decisions before they even make their decisions. It shows us how weak our society is becoming. And it's just like, I almost wish to a point that the pill that removes all emotion for equilibrium in that movie is real, because people are so caught up in their feelings over everything these days, and it's just like, just go see the damn movie. If you like it, fine. If you don't, fine. But to need somebody to almost in a sense give me permission to go see a movie and find out if I like it or not, it's like, get the hell out of here. You know, it's
I love it.
It's outright just pathetic to me that somebody is like, oh, well, what does Rotten Tomatoes say? Who cares? Go see it for yourself. And what do you say? You know, what do you think about the actual movie? Then now, when it comes to the user reviews, I don't trust anybody that can't remove their emotions before they go see a movie or when they sit down and write a review. Because if you're caught up in your feelings about a character or an actress or an actor or whatever, and you can't judge the movie dispassionately, I don't trust your review either, because you're sitting here letting all these different things cloud your judgment when it comes to what you're writing down on the page or on the screen or typing out or whatever, however you want to put it. So, I mean, it's Rotten Tomatoes is kind of essentially, for me, it served its purpose. It's cool to have a little Rotten Tomatoes stamp, certified fresh. Okay, but I don't really care. That doesn't mean anything to me. If I want the movie, I'm going to buy it. If I want to see the movie, I'm going to watch it. End of story. I don't need anybody's opinion to validate my decision. So that's just how I look at it. I mean, to me, stuff like that is kind of worthless.
My man over here just taking them to church today. That was some good stuff. That was some really good stuff. No, ultimately, yes, you know, and this is something that, you know, us as a group, we've always advocated for people to never ever rely on what reviewers say. Don't even rely on what we say. We give our opinions, but your opinions may not match ours. So if we like, okay, even us as a group don't even agree whether Batman v Superman was a good movie. LGZ says it was a good movie. She liked it. I'll say it's trash up and down the street, like all day long. I really liked Man of Steel. Got dudes in the audience like, you know, that jerk Tony Young says, oh, it was just hot flaming garbage. We disagree. But the important thing is you go to the movies, you make your own opinion, and you know, you be your best judge of character. You know, I especially love what he said about people's disposable income, it being such a cop-out, because, you know, hey, if you smoke, if you go to McDonald's, get a $5 Happy Meal, you know, you catch a movie at the right time, you know, that's your admission ticket right there. You know, really. And, you know, it's the same problem I have with people saying, oh, well, I can't afford to buy another streaming service. The hell you can't. Skip one of them McDonald's meals, man. Yes, you can. Skip one of the McDonald's meals. That pays for your streaming service for the entire month. Come on, man. I don't want to hear that. That's nonsense. Fallen Marvel has joined the show. What's up, brother? So give us your 2 cents on Rotten Tomatoes silencing the trolls, and just, you know, your opinion on it. You know, do user reviews even have a place in, you know, today's society, or is it just too toxic now? Your mic is muted, so you're gonna have to unmute your mic, and then you'll be able to talk.
Okay, yeah, that might work. Sorry about the technical difficulty. Yeah. So, anyway, hello everybody out there in Junkie Land, and well, concerning the whole review thing, you know, it was different when it first started out. When it first started out as just Flickster, because I was actually part of it back then, and it's just like, I
remember them days. Yes.
So it was so much simpler, you know. You saw something that looked interesting, it was like, hey, you might be interested, like see something else, like, no, I'm straight. But now Rotten Tomatoes has become something that has gotten to be essentially a stamp of validation for movies nowadays. And I think because there's a lot of people that are on it now, and it was like, well, I have a Rotten Tomatoes account and all this or whatever. Hey, this is something I don't like, even though I haven't seen it yet. Let's bombard it with, it's kind of like YouTube logic, right? When people just go to something and they just downvote it just because, and it's filtering over into something that has to essentially make its profit back. It's a big budget film. It has, a lot of A-list people and all of that. So if something doesn't supposedly go over the way people would like, these people feel like they have a voice, and like essentially they're trying to control media at this point. Right. Which is kind of crazy because, again, guys already covered the whole thing with Star Wars. Like, so, I mean, I'm just going to say it. The thing is, some of the most hardcore Star Wars fans are probably some of the most entitled people like on the internet right now. Preach. And and the thing is, I just think that comics and anime type stuff are like kind of like maybe a couple notches below it, but Star Wars is definitely like one of the top 3. And I just, at this point, it's no wonder they decided to kind of disable the user reviews, because it's just to the point where anybody with an email who can make an email address can sign up and just put like a bunch of crazy mess on there without any real context. So, hey, it's just one of those things where, well, hey, it just is what it is at this point. Because that's just how I feel, It's just, the thing is, depending on the movie, I try to listen to some, what some folks think about a particular movie or whatever. If I'm still interested, I still at least check it out for myself. But if it's something like 50 Shades or some whatever, I know it's not for me, and I know it's going to be garbage. But with that being said, it's just, you got to think for yourself. You can't, just you have to look at where this hate is coming from. It's coming from very just toxic mindsets that just want to be heard for whatever reason. And it's just that alone is enough to not even give it a second thought.
Here. So the next thing that we're going to talk about is kind of some pretty big news in the world of gaming that came out this week, is that Xbox One games are going to be coming to the Nintendo Switch. Like, what? Like, in our wildest dreams, we never thought of something like that even happening, because Nintendo and and Microsoft have been so diametrically opposed in as far as like their gaming philosophies. But to hear that the Xbox Game Pass is going to be coming to the Switch, that possibly, the whole streaming, games from your Xbox One to your Switch, might be coming similar to the way that remote play used to work for the PlayStation and the PSP. I mean, this is some monumental news of two colossal titans in the gaming industry coming together to kind of, bring something to the masses. So, I'm not even going to speak to the Nintendo to the guys that own the Switch, that are advocates for the Switch. I want to hear from GQ, because he doesn't even have a Switch, doesn't even really want a Switch. What does this move say to you?
So what 5 games from the Xbox library that the Switch can actually run are going to be on that list?
Well, supposedly one of the games is going to be Gears of War 4. I've also heard that Cuphead is supposed to be coming. I think Ori and this game Ori is supposed to be coming to the Switch. But anyway, it's just the beginning. But again, two
things real quick before you guys go on. It's rumored still. It's not something that has been set in stone. And number 2, it's a streaming type thing. So the Switch doesn't have to be able to play it in the aspect of processing power, because it's a computer that's on the Microsoft servers that is doing it. So
but at least it opens the door for maybe something more monumental to happen down the road. So GQ, what's your take on it?
So it sounds like something Nintendo's going to find a way to mess up because online has never been their strong suit. Ever.
So that's your take, is that they'll mess it up?
Again, you know me. I don't care about streaming. I don't. It's like, give it to me physical or don't give it to me at all. I mean, if like download only is the only way you can get a game, then fine. But I don't really care about streaming games. I don't care about streaming TV. I don't care about streaming anything because I want the quality to remain at a constant level. And streaming is not a guaranteed constant level because it is based on a server and an internet connection. And both of those things can have failures in them. And I don't like failure. And again, Nintendo systems have not impressed me for the past 5 years.
I'll say this. Granted, you're consistent in your message. You're consistent in your message. Yeah.
The Switch has got some cool potential and some interesting things, but again, like them getting some Microsoft games is not really important to me. If I want to play those games, I'll play them on the Xbox. I mean, like, that's kind of the end of it. It's like, unless you're telling me that like Mario is going to show up in Gears of War 5 and start killing people, this is like a non. This
is ridiculous in its own. It's right. Ridiculous in its own. Right.
This is like a non-issue to me because it's like, okay, so you're playing the games from Microsoft on the Switch. Okay, that's cute, but it doesn't mean that they made a system that's more powerful than anything else because they haven't done that, and they probably still won't do that. But whatever.
What's your take on it, Dido? You have a Switch, and what do you think about this whole thing?
Dude, I really like the Nintendo Switch, and it doesn't need it. In my honest opinion, is like, unless the Microsoft is giving up on the hardware, and if you think about it, the name is Microsoft, which is probably short for software because they've always been known for doing software when it came to computers back from their time of being till up until maybe the first original Xbox came out. I think they did have some other hardware, but who knows? They weren't really known for hardware. They were known for software. And maybe they're going back to that. I'm not really too sure. Maybe they see that maybe they think that the Xbox Game Pass is like Netflix, and they're not even thinking about selling systems anymore because if you can play the video games, they can be high quality based on their servers and all this other stuff when it comes to streaming. Then you just pay for a service and they're getting your bread. And you don't actually buy any games from them. That's one of the things that I don't particularly like about where gaming might be going, because they don't really want to sell the stuff. They don't want you to have a physical copy. I don't like it. But regardless of the fact, maybe that's what's going on. I personally like the Switch for the games that are on the Switch. I think it's great. It doesn't need to be the most powerful system out there, because if you look in the past, I don't believe any Nintendo system has ever been the most powerful, and they've done really well with a lot of their systems in the past. And I don't care. I play if there is games that need to be played that are Microsoft exclusives, I'll play them on Xbox. So I do have an Xbox. But if they don't feel like making any more systems, and you know, it has happened because it did happen to Sega. I still like Sega. I still like playing Sega games. But Microsoft is not something like, oh my gosh, you know, I gotta have, you know, a Microsoft flavored game or what have you. It's neither here nor there for me. I mean, it's kind of, you know, news that's like, wow, but at the same time, it's just not gonna affect me as a gamer. I'm still gonna but I like GQ said, streaming video games, like, come on now,
Hold on. Now, you did say something interesting. Now, granted, Nintendo has never had the most powerful system of any generation. They've always either came out first and then got passed up, or they came out late and then didn't kind of underpowered it. But if you really think about their backlog of games over all of this time, with the exception of obviously the Nintendo and Super Nintendo, where all the classics were born and legends were made, what real third-party standout have they had lately?
Lately they haven't had any.
And that's what gets on my nerves about them. It's like the underpowering thing or the system based on a gimmick thing limits a lot of the creativity of the other developers for that system to pretty much being just mainly Nintendo themselves. And that's what bothers me about them. Like Cuphead would be a great thing for to have on the Switch, and I think Matthew in the chat had mentioned that all he wants is Cuphead, so this would be a great thing for him. But it's like, if they would at one point just build a balls to the wall super system that all the third parties wanted to jump on and be like, hey, we need to make something for that system, then maybe I would remember their systems or have like more faith in their systems. But like outside of like GoldenEye and like the Rare run, it's like, what has Nintendo really, what Nintendo systems have really had third-party gems that you just couldn't get anywhere else? It's always their first-party stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what kind
Except for the Super Nintendo, like you said.
Yeah, and that's what's kind of bugged me about them. That's why, like, again, and it goes back to the 64. Mario 64, one of the best games in history. But like that was the sign that, hey, we're still stuck back in cartridge, and everybody else is moving to CD and moving forward, and we want to do cartridge. And it was like, okay, this is great, and you got a couple of cool things, GoldenEye, Star Fox, and but again, all Nintendo, well, with the exception of GoldenEye, all Nintendo stuff. And like third parties are like, dude, we ain't trying to do cartridge no more. We're trying to move on. We're trying to move forward. Exactly. And then when the GameCube comes around, little baby mini CDs or DVDs or whatever they were. So I'm just like, I don't mind them doing their thing. And again, that's their niche and they sell well, and Zelda and Metroids and all that. But it's like, the reason I don't get their systems, especially when they're first released, is like, okay, if I'm tired of playing Zelda or Mario or whatever, I don't really have many options on your system when it comes to, what are other people going to make for this system that's going to be like, damn, that's sweet. That's awesome. Let me play this. And that's the problem.
Well, I can say this for the Switch is a little bit different from the other ones because it's huge third party. But the caveat is it's released in a way that you don't really care for, which is digital. But for me, for the Switch, I don't mind it because I really don't like having to carry around physical copies for the Switch because they're small. And it's just because if you're going to have portability and, be at homeness of it, when it's portable, I just want to take the games and go. But for the Switch on the eShop, bro, they got a lot of the stuff you're not going to play. Granted, they got a lot of arcade gems out there that you might, but I doubted you buy a Switch for it. Like, for example, the arcade version, and granted, it was going back to the first party, but the arcade version of Super Mario Brothers is on the Nintendo Switch as a downloadable title, as well as Punch-Out or Super Punch-Out, one of those two. But there's tons of third-party stuff. Most of them are games that you probably won't play because a lot of them are those old 2D new games and stuff like that.
And part of the problem with that is, I'll get to you in a second. Part of the problem with you saying that those are attractive is that we've already played those ad nauseum on other platforms and probably still have them readily available. Hell, the NES Classic just came out, so I'm just saying. But Meow Yin and Follow Marvel, I want to hear from you guys. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say that's the exact reason I think that this is a good idea for them and for, third-party content. And also, Microsoft is really sneaky and smart in this, if you think about it, because as Zeto said, they always have created software and stuff like that. And this is just a way for them to break into Nintendo's market. And Nintendo has a very big, loyal fan base that Microsoft hasn't been able to touch, and this is a way for them to do that. So I think this is like sneaky and smart and good, and it's a way for them to go from multinational to a completely international brand, and Nintendo's going to help them do it.
So this is essentially going to be back to the Sony and Nintendo partnership essentially again. And we're going to send
this is them trying to do it like successfully though. Like that's why I said it's sneaky, because it's like they tried it before and it didn't work, but this is like a slower way for them to get and do it. But it also helps Nintendo, right? It helps both. It's like a joint deal that's just like boom, let's do this drug deal, let's get it popping. So hey, I'm excited to see how it turns out.
I mean, I'm pretty sure it benefit everyone. Both, like, it probably benefits. I want to say it probably benefits Microsoft a little bit more so than Nintendo, because even though I still have my reservations about Nintendo, like, they've always basically enjoyed their success being in this little corner, like, ever since GameCube. You know, they've still enjoyed success, but it was like they were kind of just like, you know, while Sony and Microsoft are kind of like just over here in the playground butting heads, you know, they're all off in the sandbox playing by themselves, you know. And I mean, I think it's interesting. It's just a little strange because it's like Microsoft and Nintendo, which are kind of like the most unlikely allies in this. So, I mean, whether we see it like cross, like, you know, be like a cross thing, who knows? I don't know. Maybe. I mean, if Nintendo wants to get it, like, if it's like a thing, if Nintendo wants to get out of the hardware game and just, you know, just strictly go with software or whatever, and they go the Sega route. I mean, I don't know.
I could never see Nintendo being on a Microsoft system. I just couldn't. It weird. Go ahead.
But I don't think that part is necessary. I think that Microsoft can do, because Microsoft already does more than one thing. You know what I'm saying? So
right.
This is like Microsoft breaking into that niche market that Nintendo has had forever. And
right. But the reason why I say it probably benefits Microsoft better is because what kind of sort of kicked them in their ass was like the whole thing where you didn't have to, like, their exclusives were brand exclusives, which means it was just on anything. You could play it on anything that has a Microsoft logo on it. So it means it wasn't a console exclusive, but a brand exclusive. And the thing is, a lot of people that had PCs rather were just like, okay, if it's for PC, I'd just rather get it for PC. Why do I need an Xbox? You know, so maybe that's kind of like their way of maybe kind of recouping some of the fallout from like the Xbox One. Like, granted, it wasn't necessarily a failure, but you know, with all the stuff that, like, especially the stuff that Sony came out with, like, as far as their exclusives, everybody looking at Microsoft like, okay, so what do you guys got? You know,
and that's it, and that pushes them right over there, like, especially in Japan.
Yeah,
Nintendo is huge over there. So if they go in there and court them and just like, okay, we got these little games over here, because that's one market they just haven't been able to break in. There's interest, but they still haven't broken in there, and this is their slide on in there. This is their,
you know, shout out to Maurice Baker for saying that exact thing in the Facebook chat. You know, last comments before we move on.
I don't know. I'm assuming that it'll probably be a lot of happy Halo players on Nintendo, I guess. I mean, that's about all I can really say, you know.
I'm just gonna say Microsoft better watch their back, because Nintendo don't have a good real track record of working with companies. Might end up with a Microsoft PlayStation or something at some point.
Vaporware. Hello, everyone. So, yeah. So there's that. But, hey guys. So, you know, last week we introduced a new segment on the show, and we want to kind of bring that back this week. And so this week, we have This Week in Gaming, and this is like some gaming game. These are some popular games that came out in the course of the history on this date, or at least on this week. And one of the games that came out last week, you know, in 1999, it was a pair of fighting games actually that we had come out. And let's see if you can remember this game. Right here we have The Last Blade 2 came out in 1999. Now, you know, SNK, you know, the makers of Samurai Showdown, you know, King of Fighters, you know, Fatal Fury, you know, over the course of history have always been, you know, making, you know, some pretty niche and pretty cool fighting games. And Last Blade was kind of unique to me because while it wasn't exactly Samurai Showdown, it was very heavily anime influenced. Obviously, a lot of the way, in a lot of ways, it reminded me of playing a Rurouni Kenshin game, basically, because of the way some of the characters looked. Obviously, we had a character that was obviously from the Shinsengumi. You had a many characters that played similar, to almost in the fighting style like Kenshin did as well. But it was a pretty cool fighting game that I played back in the late 90s, and I thought it was pretty cool. And in fact, the character that's getting picked right now was one that I used to play back in the day when I did used to play The Last Blade 2. But it was kind of like a standard fighter, never really, caught on with anybody. So Mr. Rigor Mortis is asking, what system was this on? And this was on originally at one point. This was on the Neo Geo back in the day.
Yeah, there were some Dreamcast ports.
It was a Dreamcast port.
Yeah,
it was definitely
back with that 24-bit goodness.
Yeah, this is before the Dreamcast died, and you can actually pick this game up. I believe it's on I think it's on I think you can get it on Xbox One and PlayStation 4 now.
Yeah,
it might be on the Switch as well, because a lot of Neo Geo games on the Switch right now.
Without a doubt. Now the game was cool. The best character, actually only one character from this game made it in the Capcom SNK 2, and that was it. Other than that.
Was it Hibiki?
The girl with the red outfit on. I think it is. I think that's
the one with the eagle or something, right?
No,
that's never Showdown.
Oh no, my bad.
What are you thinking?
I always get those two confused. I'm sorry.
One has a bird and one doesn't.
Right.
I know, but they're both samurai characters, though. That's even though
Hibiki Takane. That's her name.
Yeah, Hibiki. I think Hibiki was it. So that was The Last Blade 2 was actually like GQ said, a pretty cool fighting game. But the big thing that came out in this week in 1996 was this one right here.
Oh, Street Fighter Alpha, baby.
Street Fighter. Yeah, Street Fighter Alpha 2.
I'm trying to make a surprise.
The only one that I did not play at the time.
What?
That was like the only one I did not play. I played the first one and I played the third one. The second one I missed out on.
Wow.
Yeah.
I was in college when this came out, and we took a taxi to get over to Putt-Putt and play this bad boy because
that's what I'm talking about. Like back in them days, you go out your way to play like the latest fighting game in the arcade. Like how far away was that arcade from the door, man?
It was at the mall, or actually it was across the street from the mall, so it was at least a good 20-minute ride.
20-minute ride.
Yeah, but yeah. I mean, and again, that was the Hell Murder. Obviously, was the first time it ever got the symbol attached to it. Took it from being just a regular super finish to like the super finish.
Yeah.
So
the super finish. Yeah.
Right.
But no, man. I mean, dude, when Alpha 2 came out, obviously Alpha 1 was very popular because I think at the time when Alpha 1 came out, the Street Fighter 2, the movie, the animated movie had come out too, so it was like it exploded in popularity as well. And then you make this kind of anime influenced fighting game, and then on top, you make a really good game in Alpha 1, and in Alpha 2 you like layer on top of that by introducing the dramatic battle. Remember the dramatic battle that first came out in Alpha 2? Man, like
really, you're gonna be wrong again?
No, it was. No, there was a dramatic battle in Alpha 2, but it was the
dramatic battle in Alpha 1.
It was 1 and 1 and 1 and 3, but I don't recall 1 and 2 anymore.
Exactly.
I saw
Alpha 2 introduced custom combos.
Yeah.
Was this the one that had
the daily custom combos that made you move forward when you did it? Whenever you,
I hated that. I did hate that system. I didn't really like that.
I saw a dope ass one back when I was watching a dude play at Wonderland Mall back before they killed their arcade. And slowly killed their mall.
Main Street
playing with Chun-Li. Yeah, Main Street. He was playing with Chun-Li, did a custom combo, and finished it off with that start taunt. Was like, Gomine, pow, and killed him. I was like, fucking balls, dude. That's one way to go. Just boom.
That was the thing, though. Like,
disrespect.
Yeah. Oh, there's a character that people are trying to lobby to get in Street Fighter V. It's Sana.
Yeah.
I just went over to look at my collection, and my original Street Fighter Alpha 2 is not in there, which means somebody stole it.
What?
Yeah.
You're just really bad at lending out your stuff, or you just, like you said,
I know some stuff that got stolen. I would have never lent out. Everybody I knew owned Street Fighter Alpha 2.
Exactly.
So there's really no reason for anybody for me to borrow or lend it out to anybody. And it's not that I do have my Street Fighter Alpha, the Street Fighter collection, which initially got stolen, but I rebought. That came with Alpha 2 Gold, so I got that. But I don't have my original Street Fighter Alpha 2. I got my original Street Fighter Alpha, and it's not like I'm really missing it because it's not like I'm really missing it because it's the PlayStation version is what it. But I have the PlayStation 2 version of the collection, and now I got the Switch version of the collection. I got Street Fighter Alpha 2 still there.
See, I'd grill some relatives at the next family reunion.
I don't think it was a relative. I think
it might have been.
I mean, it's kind of hard to say.
That came over and kind of left with a little bit of something extra.
A friend of a friend, because I noticed my Street Fighter Alpha or Street Fighter EX Plus Alpha Part 2, whatever, disappeared, and I bought that game twice because it got stolen twice, and for whatever reason, now it's. I don't know if I'm ever going to get that one back because it's like 35 up.
That thing is impossible to get easy.
And fucking it got stolen twice. And I'm just like,
that sucks, dude.
Hey, remember that misprint they had on the back of Street Fighter EX3 though?
Yeah.
That bad boy talking about it takes 16 megs to save, and that was like 8 meg cartridges. I'm like, wait.
I gotta use 2 of them?
Right. I'm like, two memory cards. Are you crazy?
Yeah.
Nobody buying this. Well, you insane.
It was nuts, man.
So obviously, also Street Fighter Alpha 2 was the first game that had Sakura in it too. And, her legacy is, I think it's done pretty good. From being like another female character in the franchise besides Chun-Li and Rose.
She's still around.
So she's still around. And hell, she's. Cammy too. That's right. But also that Sakura is also in Monster Hunter too, so she's been a pretty good ambassador for Capcom over the years as well, and numerous cosplays, girls playing, doing the whole Japanese schoolgirl type thing, but that is what it is. Anyway, what'd you say?
Karen is better.
Karen is better.
I like Karen.
I did always like Karen better than Sakura.
She reminds me of Biko Daidakuji.
But Karen apparently always takes L to Sakura.
Why am I surprised to hear him say that?
Reed Becker brought up the best one, Rival Schools.
Yeah.
That's another one that needs to make a comeback now.
Oh, I love it.
Collection.
See,
dude, if I had power at Capcom, Konami, and Sega.
Look, at the current direction that Capcom is on, there should be enough people to rally for them to look, bring back some stuff that you have forgotten in the late 90s, like Power Stone.
I never really liked Power Stone like that.
Power Stone was fucking awesome, dude.
Yeah, it was. They need a Power Stone and Rival Schools collection, like a big, huge collection on disc. Make it cost $40. I don't care, and then bring that bad boy out.
I think that'd be cool.
Heck yeah.
Yes. It's a wonder to me that none of the Rival School characters made it out of that game and into something else. It's crazy.
CVS too.
Well, Kyosuke was in CVS too.
Yeah, Kyosuke and
I'm talking about
what's his name?
Even crossing over into Street Fighter or something like that. It's just it's weird.
Yeah,
they're too young.
Yeah, Rival Schools is
okay. And what's Sakura's excuse? Come on.
It's like they are. It's like Rival Schools is kind of like the young stepbrother that they don't like to mention a lot.
Right.
It's just I don't know. Rival Schools itself was just a really great gem, and it did bridge into the Street Fighter universe because Sakura showed up in the first game. So it was dude, Could you like? I mean, can anybody? I mean, I guess the closest we would have is like the Capcom versus games, which was of course Capcom versus SNK 2, and then I guess Capcom versus Tatsunoko. So it's like,
hold on, what do you mean? What was Sakura's? What's Sakura's excuse? Sakura's 35 years old.
Mr. Rigor Mortis over on YouTube actually has a pretty good idea. He said Power Stone should go to the Switch as a party fighter. And that actually isn't a bad idea. It's not a bad idea.
That'll work.
That's that little screen.
Yeah. I mean, you can put it on your TV, so I mean, hey, do it.
You might scratch the thing though. I don't think fix that. I couldn't believe that was one of the defects. I'm like, did y'all never ever test that? Like to see if it would that hard plastic would scratch the screen? I was wondering, like, seriously?
Yeah.
Now you know, lonely over there. She's like, they're talking about fighting games. I won't talk about it.
I know, right? She's been quiet. Anyway, we'll get to something that she actually wants to talk about.
I don't know any of those games. I didn't play them.
You know
oh my God, how do you not know any of those games?
Okay. Let me rephrase that. I didn't play them.
That's fine.
I know, but like, I'm not gonna speak on something. Plus, I'm terrible at fighting games. Anyway,
well, first of all, you have the best for Chun-Li right now, so you know who Chun-Li is. I want to hear that.
I misspoke when I said I don't know them, but I just didn't play them.
Okay. All right. So moving right along to the topic.
Get another bracelet and some hair buns, and you'll be Chun-Li in like a couple easy steps.
So next, guys, we're going to be talking about the Oscars, and the Oscars happened over this weekend. A very big night for popular movies and for people of color in general. Marvel kind of took away a lot of really big awards, made history. Black Panther made history in a couple of categories. But genre films just overall seem to just keep on winning, and so much for that superhero bubble that a lot of film critics said was going to pop.
Second. What did Black Panther win? Because I didn't watch it.
Okay, Black Panther won for best costumes, one for best set design, and both of those were by Black people, and they were the first ones to win in that category, I believe. And also Black Panther won best original score, which was
okay. Hold on. So, because I remember Eminem won an Oscar or something like that, or a Grammy, or I don't know, whatever.
He did. Anyway, I think it was original song.
But my thing is this, and again, no disrespect to Black Panther. I'm glad it got some awards, but those are those Oscar categories that nobody ever fucking hears about.
No. And yes, you're right. You're definitely right.
How do you get a set design award for all blue screen and green screen?
I know, for mostly CG stuff, I get you. But
again, I have no problem with it. I have no problem with it. But again, it goes back to the consolation prizes for stuff that is basically holding up the industry.
No, I have an objection.
We'll get to that. Hold on. Let me finish.
I'll let GQ finish on that. But I have those are notable awards for several reasons.
Those are notable awards, and you can speak on that in a minute. But also, we'd be remiss if we didn't state that Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse did win for best animated film picture. So, and that's actually a pretty big win in general, because almost everybody says that was the best Spider-Man film, period. Like, best Spider-Man anything that they've ever seen in the movie theater, and that's one of the things. So with that being said, Miao Yin, what's your take on the awards that Black Panther and Spider-Man won in the genre?
Well, I watched the awards, and it is the first. It is the first one that I watched actually in maybe like 10 years or so. So
sounds about right.
I won the best costume design. I think that is huge. One, because it's the first time a Black person ever won. Two, Ruth Carter is a visionary and a genius, and it's not the first time she's been nominated for the award, but it's just the first time that she has won, and she dreamed up a lot of this stuff herself, and those costumes and all that stuff told a story. So it helped create that world that we saw on screen. The other part was art direction and production design. So I don't want to just say like, oh, it was more than just, you know, them putting some chairs on the set and putting up some green screen or blue screen or whatever. It's a lot that goes into that stuff. Again, that created that world of Wakanda that we all went crazy for, that we really enjoyed, and that, you know, on screen was amazing. So I don't want to downplay the fact that it is just like, oh, it was just some design shit that we... No, it was more than that. So I don't want to downplay those awards. And I still also listen to the score in my car, so I enjoy the score.
I don't want to downplay anything you just said. I don't want to downplay anything you just said.
Okay, Kanye, come on with the Kanye comment. I know it's coming.
It's not Kanye. I don't want to discredit anything you said because it is all great. You know what else won an Oscar? And it's a comic book movie. What you call it? Black Panther's not the first.
Don't you dare bring up Suicide Squad, man.
Suicide Squad won an Oscar. It sure did. It was the first comic book movie to win an Oscar.
Well, you know what? They got one. Marvel has.
Which one did they win for? I forgot.
They won for best makeup and hairstyling.
Yep. Best makeup and hairstyle.
Okay, and that was good. They did a good job in that. It's not. That probably was one of the best things overall. Look, that was probably one of the best things about Suicide Squad. You know, so I mean, they did it.
Yes, really.
They did that.
It was up against Star Trek Beyond, though.
You talking about Killer Croc?
And in my opinion, it should have went to Star Trek, but Suicide Squad won for best hair and, you know, makeup.
Wait, whose hair and whose makeup?
Exactly.
Because Killer Croc
just looking at Margot Robbie. That's all they were doing.
Dude, any girl in high school could do Margot Robbie's makeup in that movie.
I'm pretty sure they didn't win for her. They had a lot of other characters in there.
Yeah, Croc and probably Diablo. That's about it.
Diablo was more or less like was prison tats, basically.
Yeah, it was prison tats and CG. That's it.
Look,
so I'm trying to figure out how they won that one.
They won again. I said that Star Trek should have won because that was some serious stuff. But you know, sometimes the Oscars don't always go how we want it to go. I also didn't watch those.
Tell that to Shawshank versus Forrest Gump.
Right?
Yes.
3 6 miles.
There are big. Whoa! Let's not crap on 3 6 Mafia for winning for best song because that they should have won for that song because that was a good song.
If that's the case, then why come there haven't been more rappers like nominated for Oscars then?
See, and that's
has there not? Has there not? Because I'm not gonna sit here and say that there hasn't been. Maybe not as many have won.
Here's the thing about the Oscars that gets on my nerves.
Those were deserving.
Again, I understand it's great to be nominated and it's an honor and all of that, blah, 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 whatever. My problem is when it comes down to it, the Oscars have a whole bunch of weird ass meaningless categories that just happen to crop up and suddenly become important when we need to give somebody an Oscar. Because all of a sudden you'll get like best like subtitles and then best like foreign documentary that somebody saw like, you know, across the valley down by, you know, in a van down by the river. Like they'll literally come up with like categories that make
it is not like that.
Yeah, it is.
It is not like that.
I'm sorry. Best hair and makeup. I don't remember that category showing up like a lot until Suicide Squad won it. I'm like, wait, hold on, what? That's the best
those are the categories they don't even show on the damn show. Like they show those during the commercials, right?
Right. That's what I'm saying. So like again, best picture, best actor, best supporting actor, best actress. You all about those. Then all of a sudden they come up with all these little like floater categories that nobody ever hears about. And and I'm sorry, pop culture has always been relegated to
shafted.
Special effects,
and it's like
blah, and that's it.
And it's like to piggyback off of that, it's like two of the categories that always like trips me out. It's like, how is there a category for sound mixing and sound editing?
Bruh.
Like, aren't they the same
what
thing?
What do you mean?
Who didn't think that?
Categories.
What do you mean? But still, who didn't think that Bohemian Rhapsody was not going to win those categories? Now, come on.
Well, first of all,
I want to go back to how are we surprised that there are categories for sound editing and sound mixing for films?
No, it's not that the fact that it's like, how are you basically having like two different categories for essentially the same thing?
They're not the same thing. You go tell the people who do that shit, who are in two different categories, because that's a fact. And anyway, but you go tell those people who do that work that it's the same thing, and I'm pretty sure they'll tell you it's not.
I just want to know how you figure out who's the best when it, because if you got sound in the movie and you got voices in the movie, they all need to be mixed. And if you're watching a fucking movie and their lips are moving with the mouth, how do you say, oh my God, that one's off just slightly bit.
Oh man, I gotta go check and see if I still have the clips, because they actually play it. Like, okay, so watching the Oscars, they actually play it. They play the sounds that they were being evaluated on. They show it. They break it down. So I'm gonna see if I still have it, so that I can let y'all listen to it, because I can't explain it in a way that you won't be like, I don't see the difference, because you might not see the difference. But there is a difference.
I understand what you're saying. However, at the same time, where's my Oscar for best boy and best grip? Like, for real. Like, where's my scripts? I'm sorry. If you're gonna have all these categories that just go pop up out of nowhere, I think my keywords and my best boys need to start getting some recognition.
They need to add a stunt category. That's what they need to add.
I agree.
That one for real. Oscars is something. Stuntmen need Oscars for real.
Right. So all right,
Ben Affleck didn't do none of that warehouse fighting at all.
No, he didn't. All right, so let's rein it back in. So really what I'm trying to ask is, the genre of films dominated, and we know, to Junkies' point, a lot of these awards that they always win always end up being, pretty much fluff, outside of the best animated,
let's not say it's fluff, because it's not.
I mean, okay, let's agree to disagree.
It's like filmmaking. This is a filmmaking award show, and it's for achievement in filmmaking, which that's part of it.
That part is true, but the really media awards that a lot of fans care about, like the one that Black Panther was nominated for, which is Best Picture, you want to win those, and we obviously know that for the most part, they probably won't ever win, which is why they created that new category that's coming up next year, which is what do they call it? The most outstanding popular film, I think they said. Something like that.
That was a rumor, because that was supposed to happen this year, and they didn't do it. So that was a rumor.
They said for sure they weren't going to do it this year, but they said they're still going to do it.
But it sounds like a horrible,
weird. I don't know.
It's like
that's a participation award.
Yeah,
right. That's exactly what it would be. So because I'm wondering if Black Panther didn't win, and we know Black Panther was a cultural phenomenon. Mm-hmm. Do we think any of these films, will ever have a chance of winning, like Best Picture?
Wait a minute. Did Avengers get nominated for anything? What did it get nominated for?
Visual effects.
Visual effects, and got beaten by the first man. Lost to the first man.
What?
While I didn't agree with that,
his reaction
with them winning. While I didn't agree with them winning, I understand why First Man won.
Yeah, I do too.
Why?
It was because it was the moon landing.
No, that's not why it was. It was because they took they recreated something that really happened and made it like people looked at that and was like, "Oh, that's how that shit happened. That was some real stuff that happened." Okay, cool.
That army invading Wakanda happened too. I want to hear it.
I mean, some folk do believe that Wakanda is out there and that they're gonna try to that's something too.
That's true, but here's the other thing. Like, some people think the moon landing was fake, so all they're doing is they recreated a studio creation of anyway.
And that's another thing. And that's another thing.
To conspiracy theorists, is that what you're trying to say?
They helped out the flat earthers. They probably helped out the flat earthers.
Okay, but see, you brought up a very interesting point in your whole thing as to why you think it should have won, or at least why you think it did win.
No, I think I understood why it won.
Again, it goes back to the feelings crap, because a whole bunch of people got all emotional. American pride. We did something. We landed on the moon. Who gives a damn? Thanos snapped away people that we can celebrate over a 10-year period. So
okay.
You want to talk about some emotions and feels? Damn it, I wasn't there when Thanos started collecting the stones, but damn it, I was there when he snapped away my friends. I don't care about the moon landing. I really don't. Like the moon landing happened before I was born. So I ain't trying to see.
Look, I hear what you're saying.
The moon landing thing when you had Ebony Maw and Black Widow, whatever his name was, and my man Wong was representing cutting hands off and whatnot, and Dr. Strange over there going into 14 million possible futures. He got the one that they here, the moon landing being more special than all of that, because that was come on, man. That was the layup, Oscars. How you messed that one up? How the Oscars messed that one up, man? How the Oscars messed that one up? That was the layup.
It was. It didn't have, in my opinion. It was a bunch of other sci-fi movies and poo in that category. So who do you really think?
Who wasn't going to get nothing anyway? That was somebody.
We knew poo wasn't going to win.
They just have to film. That was somebody asking if they have to film. Matter of fact, Marcus.
But the other one.
Marcus was 100% right. He said, "Damn, a moon landing. Thanos threw a moon at somebody." I don't want to hear.
But look, so it was after it was Infinity War. It was Ready Player One, and it was Solo. Those are the other films in that category.
Okay.
You know they was not going to pick any of those films.
No, Solo definitely didn't deserve it because that was run-of-the-mill Star Wars standard, and it was a subpar. Ready Player One and Infinity War should have had a neck-and-neck photo finish because those two were really good. First Man or whatever?
Yeah.
No.
So I have an unpopular opinion here. In this category, I think that Ready Player One should have won.
Nah.
I think that they should have. I did.
Nah.
That's why it's unpopular because I'm sorry. Avengers it had a lot of great visual effects, but it wasn't nothing new and exciting that we haven't already seen.
Nah,
Whoa, what? When's the last time you saw somebody throw a moon at somebody?
Exactly.
That's a first.
What I'm saying is, it wasn't something that what we expect to see that in the Avengers movie. Okay, we have seen the sky open up. We have seen the sky open up and them do all this crazy stuff in Avengers. Like, to me, it wasn't groundbreaking.
Okay,
it wasn't exciting. It wasn't. It just wasn't. It just wasn't better.
Put it this way: Ready Player One's visual effects was cool, but all it really was just like a really long, like Final Fantasy cutscene. If you really think about it. Yeah, like it was just like a very long CG cutscene pulled right out of a video game, which it's supposed to be.
But you could say the same thing about Avengers.
But it actually incorporated actual people in those sets, though. That's the thing. Like
there were people in the sets for Ready Player One. Did you not see those?
Not while they were in the Oasis. That was all animated.
Yeah, not only that, like Ready Player One probably get the Oscar for most cameos. Like that's what they get their Oscar for.
There's a category for that, probably.
That's gonna be a category for that next year. Most cameos in a movie.
Yo. Marcus Smith put it perfectly, right? He said, "When have you seen a single finger snap break the hearts of millions of Americans? Ever?
Yep.
Ever."
There you go. Look at that.
Like dudes was traumatized after
they need some younger.
No, that's because people are soft.
They need some younger folks on the Academy. That's what they need.
Yes, I agree on that.
You're tired of all these old fogies picking movies that nobody likes.
So GQ, you ready to break out that Thanos enacting plan where you kind of just wipe out a percentage of the human population? Because we don't need them anymore, right?
I'm trying to figure out which ones I'm going to keep around, though, because some people are actually entertaining and funny, even though they're weird and strange. So it might take a little while. But, Tony Young, 100% right. The award for most Easter eggs goes to.
Yeah, exactly. I wonder if that's going to be an award next year. So anyway, that brings me to another point. Something that was kind of controversial as we were watching the awards now. So the next thing was Green Book won or beat out Black Panther for the Best Picture award. Now, You may or may not have seen the meme of Chadwick Boseman's reaction to the Green Book winning, but essentially it was kind of like this. He turned to his fellow Black Panther mates and was like, really? did Green Book win? Like, did Green Book really deserve to win? And a lot of people didn't really like Green Book, for various reasons. I wanted to see it based off the trailer, but that was more because of my admiration for Mahershala Ali, who ended up winning for Best Supporting Actor, which is, a travesty in its own right. Like, how was he not nominated as the Best Actor? Was he going to beat Rami Malek? I don't know, but
wait,
yeah.
Hold on. He was the entertainer that the guy was driving around, right?
Correct.
Yes.
And
he was a supporting character.
What's the percentage of like scenes he was in versus the driver?
I mean, I don't know. I haven't seen the movie. I can't tell you. But I know,
because driving Miss Daisy, like Morgan Freeman considered a supporting actor, even though he was in the majority of the. See, I don't understand. Again, that's another Academy goofy weirdness thing. How the hell? That's literally like saying, okay, we're gonna do the movie of Daidakuji's life, but since I'm in some of the movie with Daido and whatever, even though we saw Daido from birth to current, Daido's a supporting actor in his own movie though, because I was there and we was hanging out. And we had a couple of things. You know what I'm saying? Like, that doesn't make any sense.
It's like, was it like what that Bruce Lee movie that came out a couple of years ago?
Right.
You want to hear something about Bruce Lee, but it was mostly about the white guy that was trained by him.
Listen to this. Listen to this. You want to hear something even more crazy? The woman that won Best Actress was a supporting character in her movie. She was probably on in there for a handful of minutes, and the only reason that they put her in the Best Actress category because she was going to lose Best Supporting Actress to Regina King. Everybody said that Regina King was going to win Best Supporting Actress. Wow. So in order to give this woman an Oscar, they moved her to the Best Actress.
Why even have her nominated?
The other thing with that is in the same film that the one woman who you were just talking about, there's two people in their other film who they were actually the leads. They put them as supporting actresses and they put her as Best Actress, even though she was a supporting character. And the other part is that she was playing the Queen of England. Yeah. So they figured that they should put her elevated.
Let me ask this. Let me ask this playing devil's advocate. So could Mahershala Ali's relegation to supporting actor be because they didn't think that he had a snowball's chance of hell in beating Rami Malek?
No, absolutely not. That's not why they put him as supporting actor, because if you saw it, like anytime they talked about Green Book, they was talking about Viggo Mortensen and all this other stuff, and I'm they've been talking about him like he made the damn movie, like he wrote the story, he thought it up, and all this other stuff.
So I that movie because of him.
Well, of course not.
Again, it goes back to, and this is what's getting on my. This is why I stopped watching the Oscars, because it's like, and that's why I like the MTV Movie Awards when they used to be around, because they would make the picks that the average Joe would make when it came to some of these movies and some of this stuff. Because it's like, for example, Denzel Washington should be sitting on 4 Oscars by my calculation for Best Actor.
Mm-hmm.
Right? He should be sitting on at least 4, and he's got 1. For a movie that he's got 2 now. Oh yeah,
because he got supporting actor in Glory.
I'm talking about best actor Oscars.
The
Hurricane.
He should have won for the Hurricane. For the Hurricane.
There's a list of movies that Denzel did that dude. Training Day is the one you get him Best Actor on. Right. It's like, come on now.
Yeah. So he wins for the worst depictions of Black people. Him being a slave,
and not even just the racial component of it, just the fact that, like you said, they moved this person from a supporting actress to a Best Actress to give her a better chance to win. No, if the rules are the performance is really good, that should be all that's required for you to get nominated or whatever. Mm-hmm. None of this, we're going to shift the puzzle pieces around to make it a better. It's like, no, if these people are good at what they do, they should get the recognition for being the better performance out of whatever list of movies you pick. That's why it's so dumb to me that there's so many politics behind the scenes where it's just like, oh, okay, we're gonna shift this around, and Tony Stark wasn't really like in Iron Man enough for him to be the main actor. It's like, dude, he's the main character. The movie
exactly.
So you can't say Tony Stark is a supporting actor in Iron Man all of a sudden, so we can get like Gwyneth Paltrow like move forward. It's like that makes no sense.
So then in this regard, right? You know, to your point of what you just said. Do we view now, or did we always view that Black Panther's nomination for Best Picture was basically a token gesture for something that pretty much took the entire country by storm back in February last year?
Yeah.
No.
Like, I'm sorry, it was.
You don't view it that way? Okay.
I don't.
Okay. I tend to lean more towards Follow Marvel's view on it.
This is why, and I'm telling you why right now.
Okay,
because they were nominated for just not. They were actually, and this is how I think it should be. I mean, other people might disagree with me, but if you're going to be nominated for Best Actor or Best Film, you should be nominated in other sections too. Like, if you have great cinematography, if you have great costume design, production, sound editing, you need to be in more than one character if you're being put up for Best Picture, because that means that all of those elements put together, you did something great. So I personally think, like, A Star Is Born, that shouldn't been in Best, that shouldn't have been Best Picture for me. That's just me, though. A lot of people might think differently. It shouldn't have been there, though. Not a movie that's been made. This is the third time they made the movie. No.
Yes.
So I'm just like, come on. But this is why I say, if it's in multiple categories, then you should have a shot up as, Best Picture. Like, I haven't seen Vice yet, but it's in multiple categories. And I didn't realize that was Christian Bale when I first saw the trailer. So I was like, okay, they got something there. They did something there.
But I bet you Vice didn't win for Best Makeup, though.
Nope.
They did. What did they win?
Here's the other thing, real quick on that. So, and what you say makes a lot of sense. But Vice
actually did win Best Makeup.
Okay, probably did. I'm just saying, I didn't see the movie. I thought it was, thought it was interesting. But no, like, realistically, like, okay, for example, movies like Big Trouble in Little China should have won some stuff. Even though that movie didn't do all that great in the box office, you look back at that movie and it's like, them costumes were freaking amazing.
Yeah, they were.
The effects were awesome for the time. It's just like, so that's why I don't like award shows, especially the Oscars, because it's like, y'all be picking weird stuff to win. And y'all now all of a sudden, like, because Black Panther made $2 billion. Now all of a sudden y'all paying closer attention to the black films. It's like, okay, whatever.
So more or less, we think the Academy pretty much just caved to pressure, and even putting Black Panther in the Best Picture nomination.
No, because what Mayoyan said is 100% right. It showed it shined in a lot of different categories. So definitely Best Picture nod was definitely something that it deserved to have. But I mean, again, if you're getting to the point where, like, situations, with all these politics and whatnot, next thing you know, Medea is going to be like considered supporting character. Supporting character, and Tyler Perry is going to get nominated as like Best Actor, and even though like Medea's in all of the movie and no Tyler Perry, so the politics is just all sorts of silliness, and that's what gets on my nerves about the Oscars. I don't like award shows where it's like, well, dude, who did you have to sleep with to get this nomination? Essentially, because some of these things that get nominated, or some of these things that win, are just like, seriously, ain't nobody even heard of that movie.
Yeah, and and that's the thing that's always annoyed me about the Oscars, is like a lot of the movies that are movies like foreign films and little art house films that you never even heard of, yet they're cleaning up and taking all the awards. You're like, wait a minute. How is this winning anything? Like, this doesn't. And maybe we're just biased because we're genre fans and we don't really watch it.
I have something for that too, because I actually, for Roma, I actually was like, you know what? It's pretty impressive that they won so many awards, because that was a Netflix film, and they beat out all these big studio films or whatever. I give them kudos for that.
Okay, who are they up against?
Black Klansman.
They beat out a lot of, because they won I think they won like 4 awards.
Yeah, yeah, something like that. So they
won best cinematography. They won. What? Oh, gosh, I can't tell you what it's about. That
means that movie was
that's a problem. And that's a problem. You can't tell us about.
I can't tell you exact because I don't want to misspeak, but I know that it has to do with like, I know it's an immigration film. I know it's that much. I know it's an immigration film, and I know that it has to do with, it follows like this girl who's going through like certain things as she's
it checked off all the boxes, didn't it? Young immigrant girl who's persecuted in life when she was young and going through the hardships and all that kind of thing.
Again.
Makes it across the big sea and the big divide to get into a better life. And it's a big feel-good moment. And she finds the love of her life, but the love of her life is some...
I don't know. I don't think it's that kind of film.
And,
I don't think it's that.
I don't know. The dude's name is like Felipe or something strange like that. Something,
I think Alfredo Corona was the one that won for Best Director and beat out Spike Lee. But Spike Lee did win something. He won like an official.
Yeah. But again,
screenplay,
best screenplay. That's what it was.
It's just so... I don't know. I think it's just the fact that there's so many categories, and it's like they start to feel like participation trophies. After a while.
Yeah.
And
I don't disagree.
Tony Young and I speak the same language, Spanglish. That's exactly what I was trying to describe. Spanglish. It's a remake of Spanglish, and that's what you probably watched. And
no, it's not a remake of Spanglish.
Hey, Hannah Omega wanted to ask: Has Quentin Tarantino ever won an Oscar for anything?
I don't know. He should have.
I doubt it.
Should have won a million.
Did he do it for screenwriting?
I think he won it for Pulp Fiction. I think he won something for Pulp Fiction.
I thought Django won something.
Django may have, but I think he won something for Pulp Fiction.
Reservoir Dogs. That's what he did win something for that. Reservoir Dogs.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he did win something for that.
He needs to win the Best Director award.
No, he's won Best Screenplay twice. One was Django and one was Pulp Fiction.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm looking at it now. So yeah, he's got 2. He's got 2 for Best Screenplay.
Yeah, but that got to be him as Best Director, because if the screenplay was really good and the movie was really good, doggone it, that means you did that he was a good director.
And that's why I said Black Klansman should have won for Best Picture this year, but
I'm actually kind of curious to know what he lost to in 1994. Hold on.
Forrest Gump. Everybody lost to Forrest Gump when that movie came out.
Oh yeah, that was in '94. Yeah,
right. Because if Shawshank didn't win Best Picture, which it should have,
yep.
Shawshank got just
jobbed. He got jobbed.
Well, Shawshank didn't do good in the theaters at all. It didn't do good in the theaters.
When does that ever stop an Oscar from happening? When does that ever stop?
Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Just saying.
Whoa. All I'm saying is it didn't do well in the theaters, and it kind of reflected when it came to Oscar time for that film. Do I agree with it? No.
Here's my question.
That is part of what happened.
How well did Roma do in the theaters? Because I ain't never seen no theater run.
Never heard of it. It was a Netflix film.
I said that. That's why it was so impressive.
A Netflix movie.
Yeah, that's why I said it was so impressive that it won so many awards, because it was a Netflix film.
Theater run shouldn't have nothing to do with it then.
Yeah, well, back in the day it did. They didn't have no Netflix.
I understand that, but again, it goes back to what I'm saying about the awards. There's so many variables and goofy parameters that they come up with. Forrest Gump was a movie about fake events of a dude showing up at all these historical places he couldn't have been at the same time, because a lot of
what happened with that movie? That movie blew up the box office. It was extremely popular. It had this like realistic vibe to it that could have been some regular dude in Alabama and all that kind of stuff.
You know what it sounds like to me?
So that's how they decided to go with it. Is it right? No. Do I agree with it? No. But that's what happened.
Sounds like Avengers Infinity War to me.
No.
I'm just saying, everything you talking about, blew up the theaters, and Black Panther blew it up even more than Infinity War. So
right.
Wait, hold on, wait a minute. What? I mean, I guess this is okay. I actually forgot about this. So Samuel L. Jackson was nominated for supporting actor, but John Travolta was nominated for Best Actor.
Yep.
See,
even though
we talking about
field.
Talking about.
Well,
who do we pay more attention to in that movie? Because again, John Travolta danced with Uma Thurman. That was fun.
Didn't he have extra scenes though? He had a couple extra scenes than Samuel L. Jackson. Now, Samuel L. Jackson was more entertaining on screen from start to finish.
But again, according to the Oscar formula of strangeness, you don't necessarily have to have more scenes to be like
that was what they used to do.
In the case you need to be shifted up to get your award for Best Actress, and when you're supposed to be a supporting actress, all of a sudden we just move you around, move that actress around.
That was before, in the last couple of years when they started, doing stuff. Them in the Golden Globes, just like, what is it? The Martian won Best Comedy. Yeah. I didn't know when that movie was a comedy, but whatever.
It wasn't a comedy at all. Like, what the hell, man?
They put it in that category so old boy could say, y'all know how I feel about that man.
Yeah,
but anyway.
I know you don't like Matt Damon. I know what it is.
They wanted to give Matt Damon a win. So it was a comedy.
Dragon Ball Broly better get nominated next year then.
Wow. For Best Animated Film? Technically, it could have gotten nominated this year, but...
No, skip that. I want to get nominated.
How?
Because it originally came out in December in Japan.
Not with Toy Story 4 coming out.
Well, but if it came out in Japan, then it would have had to be in the foreign category.
But see, again,
it's still the best animated film. That means
that's what they need to do. I want a best foreign animated film category now. That's what I want.
Oh no, see, they could do that. All the animated films would win all of those. That would actually be pretty dope. I would like to see that.
Miyazaki would get screwed. Miyazaki suddenly all his supposed classics would probably get shunned.
I agree with that category. Don't bring that category.
They won't do it. They'll mess it up. They'll
absolutely.
They'll accidentally put like Detective Pikachu in the running.
I can see that happening.
So you don't think that Detective Pikachu is going to be a hit?
Yeah, first of all, since they've announced that trailer, when's the last time y'all heard about that movie? Because isn't that supposed to be coming out pretty soon?
I haven't heard about it at all, actually.
I mean, they just dropped another trailer just was it yesterday or something like that, and it had Mewtwo in it. So that was supposedly So it's supposedly They haven't announced. I don't even know if Mewtwo's going to speak. We'll see.
That'd be a horrible idea.
Right. So I don't know, but we'll see. But anyway, guys, it's 10:30. We're gonna go ahead and get out of here. We had a rousing discussion about all this kind of stuff. It's been a lot of fun. Great show, everybody all around. Kudos, clap, pat yourselves on the back and all this other kind of stuff because it was a really good show. GQ really went off, and we should probably cut that and make that go viral somehow. Because dude, that was some classic stuff there, man. That was a good job. That was really good stuff.
Great.
Marcus Smith said early May. That's a horrible idea.
It was supposed to come out a week after Endgame.
Oh no! No! Don't do that.
He's gonna get swallowed up.
No, don't do that. Anyway, guys,
it's not about the box office. I thought we just said that.
No.
Yeah, for this one, it might be.
This one it is. Definitely. First of all, we ain't even talking about Oscars anymore. Oscars don't count. Oscars are banned.
I'm not talking about Oscars. I'm talking about box office now.
Oh, box office always counts for me.
Well, I know that. I'm excluding GQ because the rest of y'all, came through the screen and bit my head off.
Well,
I'm playing.
Challenge.
Your hair right now looks like candy. It looks like cotton candy right now.
That was great.
So that makes everybody want to attack me because my hair looks like cotton candy?
Exactly. You know how good cotton candy is.
Apparently cotton candy sets people off.
Yeah, apparently it does. Anyway, guys, we had a great show. We hope you enjoyed it. If you did enjoy it, tell all your friends about us and join us back here next week, Wednesday, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central Time, where we'll be talking about, well, I don't know what we're going to talk about. So if you do want to know what we're going to talk about, pay attention to our Facebook page right here. So like us here, or if you want to watch the show on replay on your TV or something like that, or on your Chromecast, go follow us over on our YouTube page, youtube.com/culturejunkies. You'll find the link in our chat. And in fact, I'll actually share it right here once more in the chat as we get ready to go away. But I had a great time talking. We hope you all had a great time too. So for my friends, Fallen Marvel, the Great Daidakuji, Miaoyin, and GQ, I'm Kishiro. We'll see you guys next week. Have a great weekend. Have a great week, everybody. Peace out.
Have a good one, peoples.
Go see Captain Marvel next week, because
man, awesome. Please defeat the trolls. Go see Captain
Making
Marvel.
plans already.
Good night.